Live in high definition from the area's most experienced news team, this is NBC 29 HD News at Sunrise.
Some signs held by panhandlers in Charlottesville are causing issues with drivers. Hear why police say their hands are tied. Plus, a dog bite overseas leads to a rare case of human rabies in Central Virginia. We have those stories just ahead. Good morning. It's about 7 o'clock. Thank you for joining us this morning on your News at Sunrise. I'm Madison Carter, filling in for Sean Cudahy this morning. We're going to get to those top story headlines in just a second. But first, it has been kind of gross the past couple of days, and this morning it was still a little bit drizzly. My phone says it's going to clear up, but let's check in with our expert, Clayton Stiver. He's in the Weather Center, giving us the very latest. Good morning, Clayton.
Yes, good morning, Madison. Nice to see you with us.
Clayton, thank you. Now to those top stories at 7:02. Today, people in Charlottesville will be celebrating beer and bourbon. How about that? But it's all for a good cause. The No Good Beer Festival kicks off this afternoon at Ix Park. The event is full of tastings that'll raise money for the Ronald McDonald House, an organization that supports families with sick children in the hospital. That festival will kick off at 2 o'clock this afternoon, rain or shine. And there's another name in the running for a seat on Charlottesville City Council. Kenneth Jackson, who goes by Kenny, announced his campaign yesterday morning at Tonsler Park. He joins 4 other candidates running on the independent ticket. There are also 3 Democrats in the running for the 2 council seats. In our next half hour, we'll hear from Jackson on one of the things that he hopes to change if he's elected. State police continue to search for a baby and its mother that they think someone abducted from the Hampton Roads area. 8-month-old Chloe Johnson and her mother, 34-year-old Keir Johnson, were last seen 2 weeks ago. Police believe the person who took them is driving a 2013 black Kia Optima with a Virginia tag that reads VAW 2197. If you know anything or you see anything, call 911. The Virginia Department of Health is working with the Centers for Disease Control to investigate a rare case of human rabies in Central Virginia. According to the State Department of Health, the victim was bitten by a dog in India. After a 6-week incubation period, the person was diagnosed with rabies. Off the record, multiple sources say the patient is being treated at UVA Medical Center. UVA won't confirm or deny what we've been told. The last time a rabies case was reported in Virginia was 2009.
Rare. There's 1 or 2 or 3 cases per year in this country, so it's pretty rare.
The State Department of Health says the only known human transmission cases have been through organ transplants. Still, out of what they call an abundance of caution, the State Department of Health is assessing every person who may have come in contact with that patient, and they're working closely with the family. A Stanton man already charged for alleged sexual assaults in the 1990s is now facing more charges. Police have charged 74-year-old William Lee Kerr with 34 counts of child pornography, 2 more counts of aggravated sexual battery, and 2 counts of forcible sodomy. The initial alleged assaults happened between 1993 and 1998, but now police say the investigation stems from incidents between 1990 and 2004. Covering America at 7:05. Atlanta drivers are breathing a sigh of relief this morning with the reopening of major interstate I-85. After more than 40 days of repairs, northbound lanes on I-85 were reopened for traffic Friday evening. Crews have been working around the clock since March 30th when a portion of the highway caught fire and collapsed. 3 people were arrested and charged with arson in connection with that fire. Construction officials say repairs are going to cost about $3 million. The southbound lanes are expected to open by Sunday. The engineer in a deadly 2015 Amtrak crash is now facing charges. Pennsylvania's Attorney General made the announcement Friday, 7 hours before the statute of limitations was set to expire in the case. 33-year-old Brandon Bastian was at the controls when the train flew off the tracks in Philadelphia 2 years ago. 8 people were killed and more than 180 others were injured. At the time of the derailment, the train was traveling over 100 miles an hour in a curve where the speed limit was set at 50. Bastian faces 8 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count of causing or risking a catastrophe, and numerous counts of reckless endangerment. Some drivers around Charlottesville are getting an eyeful lately, and police say there's not much they can do about it. A few panhandlers have signs that allude to words we just can't say on TV. NBC 29's Taylor Gleason has the details.
I'm 50. How many years you think I got left in?
Balmoral County, Taylor Gleason, NBC 29 News.
Charlottesville police say they've received complaints about these signs, but they can't do anything about them because it falls under the First Amendment rights of the panhandlers. Hundreds of students at PVCC are beginning a new chapter in their lives. Piedmont Virginia Community College held its 44th annual commencement ceremony at John Paul Jones Arena last night. PVCC graduated a record 864 students this year. It was also a big night for the daughter of world heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali. Rashida Ali Walsh says that she was thrilled to deliver her first ever commencement address.
It is a huge honor to be a part of such a distinct group of varied and, colorful people. And these aren't just students who just came out of high school. We're getting a lot of parents, grandparents even. We're getting people who, left school for a bit and came back after several years.
PVCC awarded more than 1,100 associate degrees, certificates, and career studies certificates to the graduating class. Some nurses are also celebrating a big milestone. The 76 nurses in PVCC's 2017 graduating class are now sporting pins for their achievement. Professors and students spoke at the pinning ceremony, which was also held at JPJ yesterday. That ceremony took place just before PVCC's commencement ceremony. An Albemarle County teacher now has some extra money to keep up her outstanding work in the classroom. Each teacher who won a Golden Apple Award Thursday was entered in a drawing for one of 8 grants that were worth $1,000 each. Out of 45 teachers, Ellen Patterson was a winner. She teaches 3rd grade at Murray Elementary. With this grant money, next year's class will have the resources to be a little bit more creative with their projects.
Be creative with that, come up with ideas not only using a 3D printer perhaps, or doing an online program where they can create an interactive museum or create actual real-life artifacts using material.
Patterson says money is usually limited when it comes to projects like this. She's still working out what exactly they plan to do with the money. Coming up, it's a sight you'll have to see to believe. A calf in North Dakota was born with an extra set of legs, but they're not where you'd expect them to be. We'll introduce you to the animal coming up when your News at Sunrise continues.
And still a little on the dreary side this morning, folks. We have a slight chance for a shower, but I actually think we'll see some improvements for the second half of the day. Still relatively cool, but just in time for Mom's Day tomorrow. A lot more sunshine, getting much warmer. Those temps only going to climb more so from there next week. I'll have the
part of the 4th grade?
That's only a part. We had
wow.
2 different sessions, Madison. I think it was about 140 kids total. So 2 different sessions of 4th graders. I'm sorry I couldn't get all of them on there.
That's still a lot.
But it was still a fun time. I always say it's one of the best parts of the job. They were very enthusiastic and well behaved.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad you got to visit them, and thank you for that forecast.
To do it. Yeah,
all
you
right.
bet.
All right, Clayton, thanks. Cattlemen see a lot living on a ranch, but after nearly 3 decades, a rancher in North Dakota got a big surprise. This week, a calf was born with an extra set of hind legs on its neck. Andrew Horn shows us.
It started with a confusing phone call.
Welcome back at 7:21. Studies from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention show hepatitis C infection rates are soaring across the U.S. According to a report released Thursday by the CDC, Hep C infections nearly tripled in the U.S. between 2010 and 2015. The report blamed injection drug use linked to the opioid epidemic for the increase in cases. Hepatitis C is a blood-borne virus that damages the liver, and an estimated 3.5 million American adults have it. Part of a police officer's job is to protect and serve, but a Wisconsin cop is going above and beyond the call of duty. Officer Lindsay Bidorf is donating a kidney to an 8-year-old boy that she just met. Jackson Arnesian was born with a chronic kidney condition. His family had been searching for a donor for years. When they recently posted about it on social media, Officer Bidorf saw it and she got tested. She was a match. The transplant is scheduled for June 22nd. Let's take a quick look now outside again. We're looking at our Charlottesville camera above the Lewis and Clark building. It's about 7:31 right now, and I see a bunch of clouds in the sky, but hopefully those will clear out and we might get some nice weather tomorrow and later on in the week. But thanks for waking up with us this morning. I'm Madison Carter for your news at Sunrise. We're going to get to those top story headlines in a minute, but I want to check in with Clayton Stiver to see what kind of weather we might be having coming up. Sounds good. Thanks, Clayton. The Virginia Department of Health is working with the Centers for Disease Control to investigate a rare case of human rabies in Central Virginia. The victim was bitten by a dog in India but didn't seek treatment until returning home. Multiple sources have indicated off the record that the patient is being treated at the University of Virginia Medical Center, but UVA would neither confirm nor deny what we've been told. NBC 29's Nora Noose brings us up to date.
Central Virginia is seeing the first for any signs of the virus.
Now, we don't have an update on the condition of the patient at this point, but the last known case of human rabies in Virginia was back in 2009. People in Charlottesville now have another independent candidate to choose from in the race for city council. Kenneth, who goes by Kenny Jackson, announced his campaign Friday morning at Tonsler Park. He ran for council back in 2006 as a Republican. One of the first things he hopes to change if elected is reversing the removal of Lee's statue.
We don't want it removed. We'd like to see that money put into public housing. How's about fixing the elevator down there at Crescent Hall? So the fire and rescue don't have to risk their life and risk someone else's life having to lug them down the steps.
There are 4 other candidates running as independent, as well as 3 Democratic candidates. 2 seats are up for grabs on council coming up in this November. Covering Virginia at 7:35, state police continue to search for an infant and mother they suspect somebody abducted from the Hampton Roads area. They believe the person who took 8-month-old Chloe Johnson is driving a 2013 black Kia Optima with the Virginia tag that reads VAW 2197. Police say her mother, 34-year-old Keir Johnson, is also missing and she may have been abducted as well. Johnson's family spoke at an emotional press conference Friday afternoon.
And I would appreciate a lot if you all could bring my kids home because I really want them home and I want them back. So anything you all can do, help me anyway. Please do.
Sunday, April 30th is the last time anyone saw the two. Johnson was heading to Buckrow Beach to take her daughter for a walk. If you know anything, call 911. The Navy is continuing to clean up 94,000 gallons of jet fuel spilled at a Virginia Beach air station. Friday, the Navy says it contained fuel that leaked from a tank at a naval air station, Oceana, Thursday, and spread to other properties and waterways. Crews have removed almost 30,000 gallons from areas outside the base. Experts are responding to reports of affected wildlife, and response teams are monitoring water and air quality. Governor Terry McAuliffe is escalating a fight with Republican lawmakers over who has the final say in what is in the state's budget. The Democratic governor issued an executive order Friday directing his staff to abide by his version of the state budget, not the final one enrolled by the clerk of the state House. GOP House Speaker William Howell previously ordered the House clerk to ignore vetoes McAuliffe tried to make to certain sections of the budget. McAuliffe says the clerk doesn't have the authority to ignore his vetoes, while Howell called McAuliffe's executive orders nonsensical. Virginia is getting nearly $10 million in federal grant money to help to fight the opioid epidemic. Governor Terry McAuliffe announced the one-year grant worth almost $10 million this Friday. It'll support prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts in 19 Virginia communities. Virginia emergency departments report that more than 10,000 visits for opioid and heroin overdose treatments and more than 1,100 Virginians died from an overdose in 2006. A celebration of beer and bourbon kicks off today in Charlottesville, and it's all to benefit a good cause. The No Good Beer and Bourbon Festival is an event full of tastings that raises money for the Ronald McDonald House in Charlottesville. The house is an organization that supports families that have sick children in the hospital. Organizers say they're hopeful to draw a large crowd today, rain or shine. General admission for the festival kicks off at 2 o'clock this afternoon in Ix Park. If you want more information, we'll have a link up for you on our website. That is NBC29.com. A new smoky brew from one Nelson County brewery will help firefighters who are hurt in the line of duty, as well as their families. To find out more about that special beer, 1 Foot in Black, I'll tell you about that when our News at Sunrise continues. Welcome back at 7:41. People in Charlottesville will now have another place to cool off starting today. Charlottesville's opening its 3 spray grounds this morning. Water features at Belmont Park, Forest Hills Park, and Greenleaf Park are going to open at 10 o'clock this morning to the public. They're free of charge and they're open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. through September 17th. Let's check in with Clayton Stiver for a look at our weather.
Yeah, but maybe it's more like May showers bring whatever you want to say for the month of June.
So I know before we needed rain.
Yes.
But we've gotten a ton of it. So are we good now? Is nature okay?
We actually have now cleared out the drought situation.
Okay.
I just looked at that, so that is some good news. We still have some patchy areas of what they consider abnormally dry, but there's definitely been this improving trend here. The year-to-date deficit for precipitation still, I think, running around an inch, but that's come way down from what it was.
Okay, so we don't need all this rain. We can go into the warmer weather now.
This dry stretch is perfect timing for us, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Clayton. Devil's Backbone Brewery is now making a black IPA for the Wildland Foundation, Firefighter Foundation. This special beer is part of brewery's Heartland initiative that aims to give back to those who sacrifice their lives every day. NBC 29's Victoria Reslow shows us how.
It smells good.
That doesn't happen.
In Nelson County, Victoria Reslow, NBC 29 HD News.
Devil's Backbone will brew a new beer every 3 months as part of its Heartland series. Each beer's sales will benefit a different organization. This beer will be on tap at both Backbone locations in Nelson County and Lexington until it runs out. We'll be right back. Welcome back at 7:50. Los Angeles International Airport will soon undergo the largest airline terminal relocation in its history. The airport started shuffling terminal numbers and gates last night, and Friday, work is expected to go on until Wednesday. It's expected to affect more than 15 airlines at LAX. Passengers are encouraged to double-check their ticket information to avoid any confusion. The massive shuffle is part of a $1.9 billion plan to renovate 4 terminals at the airport over the next 7 years to make way for a Delta Skyway. Blue Cross Blue Shield wants to give a lift to those who don't have reliable rides when they need to see the doctor. The insurance company has announced it'll soon offer free Lyft rides to its plan holders who live in what they call transportation deserts and lack reliable transportation. The healthcare provider plans to roll out the program across the country starting in August or September. Initially, the program will be available only to patients who have a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan through their employer, but it could soon expand. Some of the biggest candy makers are putting their snacks on a diet. Mars announced a partnership with several other candy manufacturers to reduce calories in their products. The group includes Nestle and companies that make Brock's, Nutella, and Russell Stover. They plan to package their candies in smaller portions and label them more clearly. Mars says it'll spend $200 million to make sure half the products it sells has no more than 200 calories by the year 2022.